Okay, it's a level check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer in the streaming center at Fox 19 now. This is a level check, level check, level check. Come on, I don't see levels coming in. What's going on here? Okay, there we go. Got the levels going through. So we should be okay on Roku, on Apple TV. We should be okay on the weather app, the news app, the website. Also, YouTube, we should be okay on Facebook. Okay, that is if everything is going as planned. So, I will be with you at 7:15. According to my clock, it's almost 7:14. Let's see. So I'll be with you in a little bit more than a minute here. And we will talk weather. We've got a lot to talk about. Okay, it's 7:14. I'll be with you in a minute. Okay, level check again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, ease it up a little bit. Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer here. It's 7:15. It's time for the First Alert live streaming weather show. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, and we've gained a pretty good audience. And every Monday through Friday at 7:15, if you need to know something about the weather, you can get it here. In addition to that, we try to do it a little bit more depth and some more interesting material than we can do on a TV show. So let's take a look at a time lapse starting early this morning from Newport on the Levee, and look at that. Just a beautiful blue sky. Right on cue, the cumulus clouds form as the day heats up. And notice what happens as we head toward current time. They just kind of go away, and look at that sun getting ready to set there out in the west, with very few clouds around the tri-state. So with a clear night once again around the tri-state, it looks like patches of fog. Now this morning the fog was widespread, not here in the city, but mainly in our eastern and southeastern counties. Tomorrow morning it looks like the usual spots, like around the Lunken Airport and any of those stream valleys that typically have fog. We'll probably have a patch or two, but shouldn't have a big impact on that morning commute. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast for Fireworks Friday. If you're heading down to Great American Ballpark, the Brewers are playing the Reds. Brewers, one of the best, if not the best team in baseball at this time, into town. Cincinnati has lost 12 series in a row now to the Brewers, so we're hoping for a turnaround. First pitch, 6:40 tomorrow evening. Hot and sweaty down there, but no rain in the forecast. Final out, warm and humid, 78 degrees. And it's really kind of nice because when you see them dim the lights on the stadium, you're in the stadium, used to having it bright and lit up. They dim the lights, and not completely black, but enough so you can see to walk around. But with a dimmed light, then you see the fireworks up in the sky. It's a really nice sight. Okay, on radar, nothing to talk about, so we're just going to skip it. As we zoom out and go way out into the Atlantic Ocean, there is Tropical Storm Erin. Now, according to the National Hurricane Center, Tropical Storm Erin should become Hurricane Erin overnight. Okay, and you can see it out there. I mean, it looks really little compared to, the size of the ocean. And it is forecast to take the typical track that a Cape Verde hurricane does, following that yellow curved arrow. And the real things that have to be decided. Now, almost every single one of the models in the spaghetti plots show it going that way. The real thing that needs to be decided is how close is it going to be to the coast of the U.S.? Yesterday, the models had it clipping the Outer Banks. Today, they're keeping it a little bit farther off to the east, and still a lot can change. It looks like, no doubt, that it will not go into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, because almost every single model has it doing this. There are things that could change that, though, and so that is a typical path that a Cape Verde hurricane follows. There's a big subtropical high pressure system out here called the Bermuda High. It circulates like this. And so Aaron comes off of Africa, or the disturbance comes off of Africa, becomes Aaron, and it follows around the margin of this big high pressure system over the Atlantic Ocean. And that's pretty typical. So I said a Cape Verde hurricane. What is a Cape Verde hurricane? Okay. Well, first of all, let's take a trip to the east. There you see what is going on. Okay. And what we have here, this is India. Here's the Himalayas up here, the Indian monsoons in progress. So that surge of warm, moist air into Asia interacting with the mountains means that, that you'll see moisture and weak disturbances progress westward. Okay, the opposite of what we get moving from the east to the west. And actually you can see the movement of that moisture. Look at the moisture there moving across the Arabian Peninsula toward the west. Okay, what happens when these disturbances then, with all that moisture and that warm air, encounter the Ethiopian highlands right here, pretty big mountains, they become disturbed even more, and then you have disturbances that move out of the Ethiopian highlands across sub-Saharan Africa. Here's the Sahara. Okay, down here is sub-Saharan Africa, and you can see the individual disturbances here moving toward the west coast of Africa. And right here is Cape Verde. I don't know if you can see these at home. You might be able to see them when I put it full screen again. Right here are the Cape Verde Islands, okay? And so that's why they call them Cape Verde hurricanes, because they originate from disturbances in the monsoon region that progress westward. They get even more disturbed as they go over top of the Ethiopian highlands and then skirt south of the Sahara into the Cape Verde area right here. And then once they make it to the Atlantic Ocean, they begin to pick up on the warm water that is evaporated into the storm, then releases its heat when it condenses into rainfall, drives that storm, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger as it moves across the tropical Atlantic Ocean. And so Cape Verde is right here, and that is why they call them Cape Verde hurricanes, because the disturbances make it to the ocean and come off the African continent around Cape Verde, and then they head across the Atlantic Ocean, like I just showed you. So Cape Verde hurricanes, kind of interesting, because a lot of the reason you have Cape Verde hurricanes is because you have an Indian monsoon, and you can actually see some of that activity progressing toward the west there. So a little lesson in global meteorology there for you. So once again, that's what it looks like. Okay, around home, look at the heat index tomorrow, around 90 for Saturday, around 95, 98 for Sunday. Now, remember, these numbers are just for CVG, our official observation. Every place has a microclimate, and some spots will see heat index values both Saturday and Sunday in the 100s. Then it gets even hotter, 100, 102, and 102. Okay, now there are three big question marks right here. When you see our 7-day forecast, you'll notice it doesn't really jibe with what we have here. This is pure model data, and this particular model is saying that it's going to stay hot and humid on Wednesday of next week. Okay, the reason we have question marks here is because when you see the high temperature in the 7-day forecast, it's only 84. So what's going on here? Well, we have to take into account what is going to happen with Hurricane Aaron. Okay, now I talked about this yesterday. When tropical systems typically get into the mix, when they get a little bit further north out of the tropics, they typically cause the other systems that are in the area to slow down. We call it the tropical traffic jam. Okay, so as Aaron is heading up the east coast of the United States, everything over the 48 states will kind of come to a stop or really slow down. And once Aaron moves off to the north and east, back out into the open waters of the North Atlantic, the tropical traffic jam is over and things begin to move again. Well, in this case, the jet stream is beginning to dip southward over the eastern United States, allowing Canadian air to come in. So the reason we have the question marks here is because we have to take into account what happens with Aaron. It's too early to tell that. And so if Aaron moves faster than expected, this may end up being down in the 80s like it is on Thursday. If Aaron moves slower and that tropical traffic jam holds, we'll end up with hot, sunny weather and a heat index of 102. So That's kind of what happens when you're weather forecasting. You don't always have a definitive answer for all the days in the future. So in this case, steady increase of the heat index. We're going to have to watch this, and we'll make sure you know before it gets here. The heat index of 102 could very well become upper 80s if air moves on fast enough and that cool air from Canada heads southward into the United States. And so we'll keep an eye on Wednesday. But relief is on the way, and relief in a big way. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some other stuff here. So Friday, hot and humid, the slightest chance of a shower. And I mean slight. I mean, don't even worry about it. It's such a slight chance. Saturday and Sunday, hot and humid, heat index both days, 95 to 98 degrees. And again, as I mentioned, that's for CVG. And so some of those areas may very well have heat index values over the 100-degree mark both weekend days. Latest temperatures look like this. It's down to 81 in Richmond, 83 in Oxford, also Shelbyville at 83 with Springboro coming in at 83. Then you can see temperatures as high as, well, 86 now looks at the hottest unless I missed one, but a number of 86 values out there. Let's check the heat index values. So CVG at 86, Hamilton at 86, Lebanon at 84. Heat index is 92 in Lebanon, 89 in Hamilton, and 88 at CVG. Lunken and Falmouth have heat index values at 90 along with Madison. So it is sticky out there. There's little doubt about that. This evening then, we drop from our current temperature of 86 to right around 75. And we are talking about a clear sky. And again, with a clear sky overnight, we may very well see some patches of fog. Not nearly as widespread as the fog was this morning, just patches in the usual spots. Okay. Overnight then, temperatures bottom out around 70, some spots in the upper 60s. And one of the reasons is the nights are getting longer and it's harder and harder to keep temperatures in the 70s because you just have more time for it to cool off. Sunrise at 6:52 tomorrow. Okay, now the Climate Prediction Center is saying that if you look at the United States, this goes out to from the 20th to the 24th, this gray shade here is near normal. And now, let's kind of think of what's going on here. Okay, we're thinking that around the 20th of August, the hurricane Aaron is going to be here off the coast of the U.S., and we'll get the tropical traffic jam, so things will kind of stop. Okay, once Aaron moves off to the north and east, everything can move again, and then we're going to get that flow out of Canada because the jet stream is going to be doing this. Okay, it's a big hot dome here, so it's flowing north, it's diving southward, and it's allowing cool air to move into the tri-state from Canada. So what happens here, this is the 6 to 10 day outlook, okay, goes out to the 24th of August. Let's see what happens when we go into the second half of the Climate Prediction Center's forecast. And there you see it, a lot larger area is below normal. That includes most of the Fox 19 Now viewing area. So right here, the below normal goes down to Madison, Indiana, so it would include the entire Fox 19 Now viewing area from the 22nd to the 28th. And that's because the hurricane's off to the north and east. The jet stream was beginning to dip southward over the eastern U.S. It kind of stopped, waited for Aaron to get by, and then once Aaron goes by, it can do that, and we get an extended period of some relief. And I'll show you that in numbers coming up in a couple of minutes. But it's good news. I mean, if you like me, are sick and tired of the hot and humid weather, I tell you what, you've got some good stuff coming. As a matter of fact, now today wasn't like that, but most of the last few weeks, my wife drives the car to work. I've got an older van and the air conditioner's broken, and I just don't want to spend the money to fix the AC because I just use it to haul stuff with. So when I drive it to work, I've been wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and I get dressed in long pants and regular shirts when I get here. And that's just one of those things that happens. Okay, so then if we go to the 3 to 4 week outlook, now remember, this was done on last Friday, so it will be updated tomorrow, okay? So when it's updated tomorrow, we're looking at from the 27th of August to the 9th of September, we should end up warmer than normal. Precipitation-wise, we are looking at from the 20th to the 24th, near to below normal precipitation. From the 22nd to the 28th, near to below normal precipitation, and below normal precipitation as we head out to September 9th. So looks like we're going to head for a drier trend. And what does that mean for you? That means you more than likely have to do some watering of the garden and lawn. It might be pretty good news for farmers because when you get to corn harvest time, you don't want a lot of rain. You want the corn to begin to dry out on the stalks. You want the fields to be firm enough you can get the harvesting equipment in there. So this might be good news for farmers, especially corn growers. I'm not so sure about how a dry stretch at the end of the growing season affects soybeans. But overall, temperatures near or a bit below normal and precipitation below normal as we head on into the month of September. So a little bit of a pattern change. All right, here's your 7-day forecast. All right, and we are talking about a low temperature tonight of 70, a high tomorrow of 88, 71 and 90 for Saturday, 72 and 92 for Sunday. Now the Reds play Friday. That is Fireworks Friday. And then dry weather, but hot and humid both Saturday and Sunday. Heat index values 95 and 98. And remember, some spots above 100 both days. Monday and Tuesday, heat index values definitely above the 100-degree mark in most locations. And then Wednesday, I put the eyeball up there. That means we have to watch out, do some extra watching of this because this is the day that's critical. If Aaron stays offshore farther and moves faster, it will allow the cooler air and the cold front from Canada to move in faster, and that would bring us 85 degrees for Wednesday. If Aaron slows down, gets a little bit closer to shore and, kind of hangs out around the east coast of the United States a little bit longer than what's expected now, this day may end up being more like Tuesday. Okay, so that's one of those days we're just going to have to clarify and update and tweak as it gets closer and closer. Okay, so let's see here. Oh my gosh. That you might have heard my phone just beep. That's meteorologist Ethan Emery, who used to work here, just sent a picture of him in kindergarten, and it is so funny. I can't show it to you because it's on my phone, but because I have no way of putting it up there. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to beyond the 7-day forecast. So that's what the 7-day looks like. Every one of those days through Tuesday is warmer than normal. Wednesday could end up being a lot hotter than normal, and then Thursday should bring relief. Wednesday's that day that's changeable. We may have to put it one way or the other depending on what happens with Aaron. Okay, now we go to beyond the 7-day forecast. And how long has it been since I've been able to put a word up that like pleasant for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row? Okay, and that would actually, these 5 would actually be the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th because the last day of the 7 days got that nice weather in here too. And we're looking at dry weather. We've got a big high pressure system that's coming in from Canada. Remember, the jet stream around the 20th is trying to dip southward in the eastern U.S. Once Aaron gets off into the North Atlantic, the jet stream will be able to do that. It'll bring that cold front in from Canada, and that's the leading edge of a nice air mass. Now, not cold air. If this was the middle of January, yeah, we'd be talking about cold air, but this is cooler, and the big change with this air is that it's less humid. And so we've got a stretch from Thursday the 21st through the 26th, it looks like, with what I would just call pleasant weather. High temperatures not far from normal each of these days, lows not far from normal, but definitely lower humidity than we've been experiencing for a while. And then we'll go back into some showery weather. We might have to warm these days up a little bit, but we're going to go back into a little bit more humid, showery weather for the 27th and the 28th. So here is what those 14 days look like. There you see the string of 90s, and we may have to add one of those 90s. The 20th, with that high of 85, may very well have to be added to that. And then notice we hang out around normal, both on the high side and the low side, and that kind of fits with what the Climate Prediction Center's forecast says, kind of near normal or a little bit below normal for that stretch of time. And again, remember what's going on here. And sometimes it's easier to understand the forecast if you just kind of think of some basic principles here. Here's the basic principle. When we get in the 90s, we're typically under high humidity conditions. Now, we have had 90s when the humidity is not that high if we got a particular pattern that draws air out of the desert southwest. But most of the time when Cincinnati makes the 90s, we're getting air from the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, so highs in the 90s, and then we cool off to about normal or a little bit below normal because our air is no longer coming from the Gulf of Mexico. It's coming from Canada, And I mean, even though there's some big lakes in Hudson Bay up there, you don't have the very warm, humid air coming out of Canada that you have coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. And so we've got lower humidity, temperatures near normal, and a big, big change. When you consider the heat index value on each of these days will be about the same as the temperature rather than the heat index in the hundreds here. And so that's kind of how that relief develops. All right, let me see what we got here as far as comments on Facebook. Okay, Melvin Stone Street says, is it going to be hot tomorrow? Yes, it is going to be hot tomorrow, and it's going to be even hotter Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, Melvin. So we are kind of stuck with sticky for just a little bit here around the tri-state. All right, next up is... I don't know what that is. That is a, okay, let's just drop that. Okay, Dave Johnson, you just got banned. All right. Susan Wally, the weather's gross right now. Absolutely gross and disgusting. She wants some cooler weather, and she's glad to see it coming our way. But remember, this is all kind of relative. For us, this is gross and disgusting. If you lived in New Orleans, or if you lived in Mobile, or along the Gulf Coast, if you were in Orlando and you were a native there, this would be just kind of typical and normal. But for us, since it's only like a few months out of every year, yeah, I agree. It's kind of gross. I'm tired of it. Okay, and I'm not saying bring on the snow yet, but I'm just saying I'm tired of this. Okay, Melody Rodriguez. She said, when am I retiring? The 28th of the month is my last day. Okay, so 14 days from today is my last day. Now, I'm staying in Cincinnati. My wife and I are just going to stay in our house. I'm going to stay around town most of the time, and I'm not going to do anything on TV for quite some time, but I've left it open with my bosses here at Channel 19 that I'd be available to fill in like over holidays when, you know, we've got people that want to take holidays off, and this is a business that goes on basically 24 hours a day. And so you can't have enough people to fill in for all the holidays without somebody doing a lot of overtime. And so I am willing to come back and do some fill-in. So you haven't seen the last of me yet, but you're not going to see as much of me as you used to. Okay, J.D. Javisto says, what's the weather for tomorrow about 10:30 a.m.? About 10:30 a.m., the heat index is going to be approaching 90. The temperatures will already be in the mid to upper 80s, and it's just going to be hot and humid out there. So, and it's just going to get hotter. By afternoon, that heat index, especially if you're out in the sun, it's going to be really, really tough. You just make sure you take it easy, drink plenty of fluids, take a break if you start to feel woozy. Okay. And let's see here. And JD wants to know how I'm doing. I'm doing okay today. 72 years old and feeling like I'm only 71. Karen Dodd Books says she's going to miss us, the way I give the weather and provide extra information. Well, thank you, Karen. That was nice of you. Kara, I said Karen. Kara. Cindy Hale says, nobody can fill your shoes. Well, I've got sandals on right now, so I hope those count too. But thank you, Cindy. That was very nice of you. Okay, and those are all the comments I have now. So that's it for now. Thank you for joining me. I will be off tomorrow. Meteorologist Erin Ashley will be in for the 7:15 live streaming weather show. She'll keep you up to date on Erin and all that other stuff. She's a local person. She grew up in the Milford area. And really knows her stuff, so you can trust what she has to say as far as the forecast goes. We were happy when she was available to be able to hire her here and bring her back home to Cincinnati. So that's it for now. Thanks for joining me. Hope you have a very nice evening and stay cool tomorrow and for the weekend.